Welcome back to another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. We got a fantastic episode we're going to get into today on none other than Luigi Baby Shaq's Manocchio, one-time boss of the Patriarca crime family and a damn good boss, if I may add. Manocchio is an American mobster in the Patriarca crime family who's got a real rich history. You need a Venn diagram for Baby Shaq's to show all his, accomplishments and triumphs and whatnot. Really a rich history when it comes to this guy. Manocchio's first call was all the way back in the 1940s, you know what I mean? So he's got a long resume. In November of 1967, Manocchio was shot in the neck and seriously wounded during a running gun battle on Federal Hill in Providence. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that was all the way back then. This guy, was really part of the Patriarca crime family all the way up to 2011. Rich history. In 1969, Manocchio was indicted for participating in the murders of Rudolph Maffeo and Providence freelance bookie and Anthony Melee, Maffeo's bodyguard. He fled to France after the murders, but later returned to the United States, living undercover, still on the lam in New York City for most of the 1970s. In 1979, he must have felt like enough time had passed, to weaken the case and kind of just, bring it down some. He surrendered to law enforcement in 1979 and pleaded guilty to several lesser charges. He was then sentenced to 30 months in federal prison. Back in 1991, Cadillac Frank Salemi took control of the Patriarca crime family, replacing Nicky Bianco as boss of the family after he was sent off to prison. Salemi's first move as boss, and probably his best move if you ask me, was to make Manocchio his underboss down in Providence. Salemi was the boss. The Boston faction made Manocchio his underboss, the Providence faction. And a really, really good move, and probably helped him keep control of the family for those 5 years he was boss. Salemi, leaned heavily on Manocchio, definitely. Now, Salemi's reign as boss was turbulent and extremely violent. After ex-underboss Billy Grasso and then at the time soldier Frank Salemi were targeted in a double assassination plot, which was half successful. Billy Grasso of New Haven, Connecticut was killed, leaving the underboss position vacant, and Salemi was hit coming out of a Saugus, Mass. IHOP back in 1989. This was simultaneous, so Billy Grasso was hit out in Western Mass at the same exact time that Cadillac Frank was hit in Saugus, Mass. And Billy Grasso died. Salemi survived. Salemi, who's a grizzled vet when it comes to mob warfare, ate 5 bullets and took refuge in the IHOP, ultimately surviving a coup in a civil war in the Patriarca crime family from the Boston faction. Actually, jealousy and greed and all that definitely play a part, but it was the Boston faction scheming on the rest of the family, especially Grasso and Salemi, who were rising stars. The failed assassination attempt of Salemi back in '89 kicked off a war that would last until 1995. Salemi would use his time as boss to inflict payback on the rival Boston faction of the Patriarca crime family and anyone who had anything to do with the assassination attempt. It was brutal. Cadillac Frank's killing fields yielded upwards of 25 gangland slayings. Most went unsolved, There was one particular incident that's infamous. Back in 1992, there was an incident that took place that is well known. So as Raymond Patriarca Jr. sat in prison watching Frank Salemi and Luigi Manocchio sit atop of the Patriarca crime family, you know, raking in the big bucks. You know, Raymond Jr., who brought Salemi into the fold. Raymond Sr., right? Salemi dates all the way back, you know, to those days with Raymond Sr. He loved Cadillac Frank, but Raymond Sr. was old school. Cadillac Frank's mother was Irish. His father was Italian. He had an Italian last name, but Raymond Sr. Was very blue-blooded, wouldn't make him, was a top hitman for the family during his reign. But Raymond Jr., you know, who was a weak leader and didn't really have the backing of his father, you know, inserted two wild street guys in there as, you know, like his attack dogs, you know, which would be Billy Grasso and Cadillac Frank. But Cadillac Frank was made by Junior Patriarca. Billy Grasso did time with Raymond Sr. and got made by Raymond Sr., but Salemi was made under Raymond Jr., so he felt a certain way when he went off to prison and he took control of the family, Salemi. And, you know, they stopped making payments to Raymond Sr. Raymond Jr. was kind of a joke. He had the ceremony that got bugged back in 89, you know, which was kind of the last straw. So he was kind of looked at as a goof. So anyways, he's sitting in prison and, you know, he's jealous. He's seeing them make money, you know, sitting in the boss's seat, him and Manocchio. And Raymond Jr. came up with a plot to take back the family from Salemi and Manocchio. Raymond Jr. paid hitman Kevin Hanrahan, who was an Irish hitman from Providence, who was said to be pretty lethal and was a Patriarca crime family associate. So then Salemi and Manocchio get wind of this plot, and, you know, they're plugged in. They're gonna know. You're gonna hear about it if something like that happens, especially if a goof like Raymond Jr. is out there, you know, trying to get back credibility by doing stuff like that. They get wind of the plot to take them both out, and both of them, who were well versed in street politics and were both very Machiavellian, and they set a trap for Kevin Hanrahan. And on September 18th, 1992, on Federal Hill in Providence, Hanrahan met with an associate of his and ate a steak at the then Arch Steakhouse on Federal Hill. Then after eating, he said goodbye to his friend, and as he was leaving the establishment, two masked gunmen ambushed him outside as he went to get into his car. He was greeted with 2 shots to the face and 4 to the chest. He was dead before he hit the pavement. This murder is still unsolved, and one of the suspects, who's long been deceased, is said to be one-time Patriarca crime family consigliere Rocco Shaky Argenti, a then soldier in the Providence faction. There have been other suspects in the cold case murder, but nothing concrete. So you can find out yourself. You can research this yourself, Kevin Hanrahan hit, and see who else pops up there or who else is suspected in the crime. Really, the authorities, all they know was, you know, Argenti, who died back in 2002, I think. You know, multiple informants pointed their finger at him, and, you know, when 5 different people have no reason to lie are saying it's him, then you know he was involved. But there was 2 shooters, so they don't know who the other one is. This guy's dead. You know, this was a long time ago. I was born in 1992. You know, like, you know, but, you know, that was a famous hit that definitely involved Manocchio and, you know, took place on his part of the turf, Providence. You know, and in 1996, a bunch of Patriarca mobsters were rounded up and sent off to prison, including family boss Frank Salemi. So naturally, Manocchio jumped from underboss to boss of the family, and man, was he powerful. He was old school. Raymond Sr. loved Baby Shaqs. He loved him. And kind of served as a mentor to Baby Shaqs in his early years. It taught him a lot. Manocchio would end up making a great boss that was feared and respected. He made the family strong. He had his hands in everything. Labor unions, concrete, film, entertainment, etc. Just really an earner. And clearly with the history, he's a hitter too, and can plan and can execute and can, just a very impressive guy. Very, very impressive guy. He would lead the family into the millennium and would lead the Patriarca crime family for an absurd amount of time. 13 years as boss is nothing short of impressive, especially in the time frame where he served as boss. Really, 5 years post 1990, or even, a little before then, was considered a successful term. But 13 years is incredible, you're talking like Joe Messina was boss for 11 years, and if he wasn't a rat, he would have probably been the best boss New York, the five families have ever seen, if not one of the best. But obviously he tarnished his own name and reputation, and nobody really gives a fuck about Joe Messina, but Manocchio was solid, blue-blooded New Englander, Providence, incredible. 13 years as boss, 96 to 2009. He is definitely the reason the Patriarca crime family, the New England Mafia for you outsiders, is still up and running today in 2023. In January of 2005, the FBI raided the Providence office of the Laborers International Union of North America and the offices of Capital City Concrete in Cranston, Rhode Island, all part of an investigation into labor racketeering in the Rhode Island construction business. Among those arrested in the Capital City raid was then Patriarca crime family captain good-looking Matty Guglielmetti, who was a mainstay in the Patriarca crime family, Providence faction. If you don't know who good-looking Matty Guglielmetti is, I don't know what you're doing with your life. That guy is a legend and is well known. Do your research. Guglielmetti was charged with overseeing distribution for cocaine bound for Canada and money laundering. Guglielmetti was given 10 years for the cocaine distribution. Manocchio barely missed being snatched up in the 2005 labor racketeering case. All in all, stability and serious money-making were the hallmarks of Baby Shaq's Manocchio's reign as boss. Definitely. Was murder a tool of his? Would he blow your candle out if he had to? Absolutely. But he'd rather make money, keep the family functional, and that's why he was able to do what he did for 13 years. It's incredible. Manocchio stepped down as boss in 2009 and reportedly handed the family over to Peter Crazy Horse Lamoni on January in 2009. I'm sorry. He handed the family over to Peter Lamoni in 2009, and kind of was just staying behind the scenes, still doing things, but not the boss anymore. January 20th, 2011, Manocchio was indicted on charges of extorting payments from the owners of the Cadillac Lounge and the Satin Doll Club, both adult entertainment establishments in Providence, Rhode Island, and both long under mob control. In 2012, Manocchio pleaded guilty and got 5.5 years in prison. And on November 4th, 2015, he was released. Manocchio was long removed from organized crime. And I gotta say, guys, Manocchio, in my opinion, is the best boss the Patriarca crime family has had since Raymond Sr., the family namesake. If you ask me, it's Raymond Sr., number one. Number two, all-time Patriarca crime family boss, the man who served for 13 years. Baby Shaq's Manocchio. Definitely. Maybe we'll see who number 3 is. My top 3 for bosses in the Patriarca crime family. Stay tuned for that. And maybe we'll see who my number 3 is. But all in all, just an impressive guy. You know, really, really an impressive guy with the credentials to flaunt it, you know. But a humble guy, a respected guy, a loyal guy, and stood 10 toes down. And was the epitome of a gangster. But yeah, this has been another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. And you know, we always end these videos with, I ain't gonna do it this week, guys. I ain't gonna do it. Patriots, man. God. You know, like, yeah, crash and burn, you know. But like, comment, share, and guys, most importantly, the page is growing, the views are going up, the subscribers are climbing. I love it, guys. I love what we got here. If you like this channel and you're rocking with me like I know you are, subscribe, guys. Subscribe. It makes a huge difference. And let's see where this thing goes, man. I'm very excited on what we've accomplished so far. So take care, guys. Hang in there. If you're having a tough time, just know you're not the only one. There's a lot of us going through a lot of stuff. So if you're having a day like I do from time to time, hang in there. Things always get better. Take care. I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend, guys.